Okay, so as I mentioned, this session is going to be recorded today. You can all go back and view it after the fact. The other thing that I want to talk about is that we're going to go an hour together today, and it's going to be a relatively small group. So this is going to be very low key, very casual. Feel free to interrupt me at any point and ask questions. And my hope is by the end of this, you go, I get it. This feels easy, and you feel confident to get started on your own and maybe use this in your own classroom as early as, I don't know, maybe even this week. If not, certainly next week. I'm sure that we can get a Quizizz activity off the ground for you and your students. So interrupt me at any point, ask tons of questions, and by all means, this is supposed to be a hands-on workshop. So I'll be teaching in one part, and then hopefully you'll have a second tab open, and you'll be kind of experimenting and playing around that way while we're working on this. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So what is Quizizz? What, like in a nutshell, what is it? This is basically a game website for you to make interactive quizzes and tests and activities for your students. So they describe it as Quizizz allows teachers to find and create, and I want to pause here and emphasize this. What I love about Quizizz is you can create one from scratch, or you can find one that is already done for you. Maybe a teacher in another state has already built it, and you reuse that one verbatim. So you don't even have to spend time making your own quizzes. Or, and this is maybe my favorite option, is a hybrid of those two things, where you create one, but you mix and match. You pull in a couple of questions from other quizzes that you found, you add some of your own, you customize it, you make it your own, but you kind of go hybrid. So it allows you to both find and create gamified quizzes and interactive lessons to engage any learner. And the big key for this is it's very engaging because there's an active component where students have to be doing something. You can basically take something that we've done traditionally, which is that, traditional stand and deliver model where I'm up giving a lecture or giving my students a bunch of information, and they're, kind of passively sitting there listening. Maybe they're taking notes, maybe they're politely nodding. But the question in my mind is always, are they getting it? Are they with me? And is there anything that I can do that would ratchet up the fun for the students? So Quizizz allows you to do that. And I'll show you a couple of different ways you can do that today inside Quizizz. Here is kind of our agenda for this session. And as I mentioned, we're just going to go an hour. So we're going to get started on all of this, and then there'll be more for you to tinker with and play around with on your own, either today, right when we're done, or later after the fact. You can always come back. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to try a Quizizz quiz all together so that you can experience it one time in case you've never done quizzes. We're going to help you get your own Quizizz account set up today. You'll leave here with your account ready to go. We will tour the website a bit together. Then all together, I want us to find a quiz or maybe even build a quiz if you're feeling adventurous today. I want to walk you through how you would assign it to students so that you feel confident about that part. And then if we've got time at the end, I'll show you how you can use Quizizz to create a lesson. It's kind of a relatively new feature that they've added that I think is pretty cool. And so I'll show you what that looks like, and maybe you can kind of get the gears turning in your head about how you might be able to use this and whether or not you think it might have some advantages for you. So without further ado, let's start by trying one of these things out. Let me hop out of my presentation really quick. I'm going to go over here to Quizizz. So here's a little preview of what the website looks like. And I'm going to go to my library. I set one up over here called Fall Icebreaker. And so I'm going to assign this for you right now. We're going to do this live together. So I'm going to click the drop down and go to classic mode. Got classic on. I'm going to click continue. That's it. That's my whole setup process. So now if you were in your classroom, you would do this same thing. And then you would have this up on your screen, your projector, or maybe your flat panel display, something like that. And you would tell your students, hey, grab your device. I want you to go to joinmyquiz.com. That's the URL all of your students will go to. And when you get there, it's going to ask you for a join code, and you're all going to type in this join code 107361. So what I'd like you to do is open up a new tab right now and go ahead and head on over to joinmyquiz.com and type in that join code. And while you're doing that, I'm going to stop talking for a second, and the floor is yours. If anybody's got any questions so far, feel free to fire away. All right, I'm going to assume that that means we're all doing well so far, and that my pacing is fine, and there's nothing. Okay, good. I'm seeing some nods. Excellent. Hey, that's the same thing that I get when I do it in a classroom, and all my students politely say, yeah, we're with you. Okay, you'll notice here that as I've been doing this, I've got 4 different players that have popped into this. And so all of your names are there. So notice that to do this, you didn't have to set up an account at all. You didn't have to do anything like that. You just literally typed in the code, and then it asked you for your name, and you typed in your name portion for this. So very easy to get off the ground with students, and they don't need to do any setup stuff ahead of time. You'll also notice that you haven't been able to start this yet until I click the magic start button. So this gives me control as a teacher. I kind of wait for all of my students to get in here. And again, the mode that I'm doing right now is this live quiz mode. They do have an asynchronous mode too, where you could set up a Quizizz and have students do it on their homework as kind of self-paced on their own. This mode that we're doing right now is the one that you would use in class when we're all here live together and we want that in-class excitement. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click start, and then you may all begin your quizzes. All right, so it looks like everybody's completed it now. So you can come back over here and kind of take a look at the screen share. And you'll see this is what now naturally pops up on my projector in the classroom is we've got, we had the leaderboard before where we were kind of seeing how everybody was doing. And then it put the podium up at the end. So you can see who came in third, who came in second, who came in first. Automatically, this hypes up students quite a bit because they're competitive by nature. They love anything that feels like a game or a competition. And if we can make, learning and checking for understanding and assessment feel like a game to them, man, that's half the battle for us. So you'll see all of that popped up. And then as a teacher, I now have a dashboard summary available over here for me. So you'll notice I have over here participant names where all of you are over here on the side. I can see your score, which is based on right answers, but also based on how quickly you were able to get that right answer in quizzes. And then I can see how you did on each one of these questions. So for instance, question number 2, 100%. I know that my class is jamming on what Starbucks beverage is most popular this time of year. But if I take a look over here at question 1, only 25% accuracy on this. What percentage of Americans typically carve pumpkins? Maybe that's something we need to review together as a class. Now, I'm going to stop talking for a second, and I want to open up the floor to all of you. You just took this, and it might have been your first ever quizzes that you did. What stood out to you once you took this? What did you notice? What was interesting to you as you went through it?
I would say it reminds me a lot of a Kahoot. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So this and Kahoot, they're kind of competitors, but they're very similar platforms in terms of what they can do for you and your students.
I like that the font is big and easy to read.
Very clear. I love the aesthetics of this. I think they've done a great job with their design.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with both of those actually. My answer is gonna be kind of both of them in one. That it reminds me a lot of Kahoot, and also just the simplicity of it, the simplicity of the layout.
Yep. Any noticeable difference between this and Kahoot for those that are familiar with Kahoot?
I didn't feel the time pressure. Like I wasn't sure if timing made a difference or not. So it was interesting to hear after the fact that it does, huh?
Yeah,
does.
it has a
bit.
bar at the top, but it's not as evident. It's
Like,
I mean, I turned the music off, so I don't know if it has like a countdown. Music gets faster or something, for that pressure. But
definitely your data that you can get after the fact, what you're showing us is really easy for teachers. I mean, that's very usable data right there.
Absolutely. And it's actionable right away. Like I could use this for what am I doing in the next 5 minutes in class? I've got data right here at my fingertips.
does it have an option to read to the kids?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Will it read to them?
I don't know if that's embedded into it, but you might, with one of those Chrome extensions that will read the page to you, you might be able to try using that to have it read out loud to the kid. They've all of our students have that read aloud Chrome extension, so that would be worth trying, perhaps.
I'm looking at that little microphone symbol up at the top. That's not what that's for, because that's your
no. So that's the
that's
that's the speaker on my end. Do I want it?
Gotcha.
I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it was playing music on my end, like out of the classroom speakers, so to speak. In terms of this and Kahoot, I'm a fan of both of them. I like Quizizz a little bit more than Kahoot. Here's the one, the big game changer for me. Kahoot, whenever I use it, the questions are up on the teacher's screen, and then the students have the buttons on theirs. And I see a whole lot of students getting unnecessarily stressed about like looking up here and then trying to quickly look down at their screens. So I love that on Quizizz, you had the question and the answers on your student screen, and you weren't going back and forth between two different viewing locations. So I think that tamps down the anxiety for some of our students. Yes, Carrie.
So I work with I'm math intervention. That's my position now, and so I work with all the 4th and 5th grade teachers, and I have a 5th grade teacher that uses Quizizz, and it's individual. That you don't have to be in a group setting doing the quiz at the same time. It's just assigned, and I like that the kids can keep retaking their quiz to improve their score. She insists on an 80% or higher, and so they have to keep taking the quiz, quote unquote, quiz again, for that practice, for the skills that they're missing. So I really like that it can be individual.
And if we're talking about mastery teaching and mastery learning, and we certainly are this year in the year of unfinished learning, some people call it learning loss. I don't love that, but any unfinished learning where we need to kind of help students catch up to where we want them to be, man, Quizizz is a great tool to be like, hey, why don't you try this one again? I'm not sure that your fraction skills are all the way where we want them to be just yet. And you don't have to like recreate it. It's just already there and ready for you.
Even the fact that there was a redemption question, although I missed it, I would know, hey, it's important to look and see what the answer is, even if I missed it this time around. So I thought that was a really cool feature that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. And one of the things I've always struggled with is like I'll grade a test and pass it back to students, and the amount that they care the day afterwards about like going back through and looking at things that they missed is microscopic. But man, that redemption question, if they can do something and then immediately afterwards get a chance to redeem themselves on one that they missed, that's when they are most invested in trying to learn from mistakes or, like really cement some unfinished knowledge that they had. So I think that's a brilliant thing. The other thing, and you guys touched on this, is the timing mechanism is a lot less like in your face on this. And I know that's something I've seen students struggle with a whole bunch, is this anxiety about I have to answer really quickly. It can't be turned off completely, but you can, they've kind of diminished the importance of the time in here, and you can set the time so long that no student is ever, really struggling to like beat the buzzer, so to speak. Okay, great stuff. This is a great conversation that we just had around it. So what I want to do now is I want to get all of you started with setting up your Quizizz account. So the way that you're going to do that is you're going to go to quizizz.com, and I'll show you the way that it's spelled. It's quiz, Q-U-I-Z, and then afterwards it's IZZ.com. So the Quizizz, the double Z comes at the very end rather than in the middle. And I am going to strongly, strongly recommend when you get over here that there is a sign in with Google button. And I'm going to recommend that you sign in with your redlandschools.net account. That way it will play really nicely with things like Google Classroom down the road. Let's see, I'm trying to log out. How do I log out?
Yeah, I'm seeing sign up, but not sign in with Google. Should I put get started?
Do the sign up, and it'll ask you how you want to sign up.
It's the next screen, actually. I did the same thing.
There we go. Okay.
That I finally found it. Okay. So you do sign up, and then it's going to ask, how do you want to do this? I strongly recommend the continue with Google part. And it'll say, what Google account? And so you'll give it your redlandschools.net one. And then boom, the account is created for you. Now, I will mention right now that Quizizz, they have a freemium model. That's their business model. So that means they offer their platform for free. And then there are other super duper fancy features that you can get only if you pay for one of their upgrade plans. I have never felt like I needed anything beyond the basic account. So I'm here to tell you, I think basic account is really, really good. And you're not going to feel, super hobbled with it. But if you end up loving this and you're like, this would be money well spent, you can upgrade to a super account and that gets you additional stuff. But the free version is pretty darn good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into creating one. And I'm thinking the best way to do this is for us to all create one. You can either kind of copy me right now, or you can make one for your class. If right now you go, look, we're working on multiplication facts of 7s, you could make that quiz for you and your students right now. Or you can just kind of treat this as an experiment right now and fiddle it around with me, and then you can make a legit one down the road. Carrie.
So when I clicked in to create the account, it's asking me for my organization, but Redlands Unified School District isn't coming up. Should I choose my actual school?
That's a great question. Probably your school. I put in Redlands Unified School District. So
I put in my school and it came up.
Let's try my school.
I had to type the whole title. I had to type Redlands East Valley High, and then it came up.
Yeah, so for my organization, I think you can see it down there at the bottom. It says Redlands Unified School District, Redlands, California.
Yeah, it's not showing. Is it Redland, like all spelled out?
I think I might have done the can't find your organization, add it here. Yeah, that's the way I did it.
Oh, got it.
That part, I will tell you, doesn't matter all that much. Other than sometimes if there are several of you at the school site, there's a way to see what have the other teachers at my site made, and can I reuse their quizzes? But that may be more of a paid feature than it is the free one.
Okay.
All right. So I'm hoping once you're logged in that you've got a screen that kind of sort of looks like mine. Maybe without, the first couple that have been created here, but at least like your account up at the top. And you can do things like add a little avatar picture and, stuff like that. But you don't have to now. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to create a Quizizz. And you'll notice there's a big purple button in the upper left-hand corner. And when you click it, it even has a little drop-down arrow telling you, hey, you're going to get 2 options here when you go to create it. The 2 options are a quiz, which is the thing we just did, or a lesson. And I'll preview this now and then we'll circle back later. A lesson is kind of like, I have this slide deck already built, and I would like to insert poll questions or quiz questions into the middle of my lesson, or I want to build a lesson, but I'm going to build my presentation in here and insert Quizizz questions as we go. So if you're familiar with Nearpod and you're familiar with Pear Deck, that's kind of the bread and butter of those platforms. Quizizz now does the same thing. So if you like this, you can do all those same things for free in Quizizz, and it's kind of cool. So we'll come back to lesson in a little bit. It's new. For now, we're all just going to click quiz. And the first thing that you always get when you click quiz is this little question that says, create a name for this quiz. So you can be super generic. You know, it could be just like math quiz or fractions, or you can be very specific. Lesson 7.2 review, you know, whatever you want. I'm going to say multiplication quiz. And then it asks you to pick the relevant subjects. And I recommend that you always faithfully do this because it makes their library of available quizzes that much better. And you're going to benefit from a good library here in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to click math. I'm going to click next. And now what I can do is I can create my quiz. So I have the option when I'm creating this quiz of either creating it manually. So I can say, okay, the first thing I want to create is a multiple choice question or a poll or a fill in the blank or open-ended or a slide. So I'm going to do just to demo it for you. I'm going to show you multiple choice really quick. And then here's my interface. So this looks just like the actual quiz that you did a minute ago. And it's easy. You just type in the question boxes. What is 9 times 7? And then you can type in your different answers here. 46 and 59 and 63 and 72. And once you type in all of the answers that you want to have on this, it's going to prompt you to select the correct answer to this question. So the correct answer that I'm going to select here is this one, orange. And I'll show you right now that there are some other things in here. I'm not going to do them yet because we're just kind of doing the basic thing. But the other options that are available to you are you can insert an image as part of your question. You can insert audio. So that could be like you reading out loud a question if you've got pre-readers that you're trying to develop this for. You can also insert a video. Maybe it's a video that you find or the one that you make with Screencastify or something like that. And down here for the answer options, we typed in text, but we also have the ability to change the option to an image. So you could say, which one of these is a cat? And you could put in images of different animals, and now they're selecting the button that matches the picture that they're looking for. You can also, math teachers, you can insert an equation right here as well. So there's a little simple equation editor built in both for the question and for the answers, which I know is a game changer once we get to more sophisticated mathematics. All right, so then down below that, I have a little toggle that allows me to select more than one correct answer. So if I want to have more than one thing be counted as correct, I can toggle that on. I have a little timer down here. The default is always 30 seconds for a question, but I can adjust that to give less time, only 5 seconds, better be quick, or 15 minutes. Maybe it's like a really long math problem that we're working out on a dry erase board at our desk, and then we're going to pop in the answer afterwards. If I just want to collect all that data, Quizizz is a great way to do that. Maybe it's just a one question quiz. That's fine as well. So you can pick any one of those times that work for you. And then you also have the ability to add topics. Those would just be little tags if you wanted to put those in there. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and click save. And boom, my first question is done. And so now I would just repeat the process for the next question, the next question, the next question, the next question. But I think one of the things that's better about this is to take a look up at the top. It says teleport from the Quizizz library. Ooh. This is going to pull in questions, millions of questions from other quizzes that other teachers like all of us have created and already put in here. So we're going to go up here and search for something relevant to your quiz. I'm going to search multiplication because that's what my quiz is about. And notice when you type in a keyword, you get over here on the side a whole bunch of quizzes that have been created by other teachers. And I typed in multiplication. It's very broad. So there's a lot. There's a lot. And it's going to keep on going. So before I dive into one of these things, I want to show you that there are some filters up at the top, which are very valuable for us. So we can filter by grade. Maybe we're just looking for content. Maybe you put in something like Civil War. And, you know, the kinds of Civil War questions you would ask in like a 5th grade context are very different from an APUSH type class. So you might want to constrict that to the certain grade levels that you're looking for. So I'm going to go to 3rd grade. And what happened? Everything disappeared? Well, that's weird. All right, we'll circle back to that in a second. Anyway, you can put some filters in here. So subjects, mathematics, number of questions, you can pick from that. So there's all sorts of different little filters that you can pick here to kind of like narrow down your results a little bit. All right, so let's take a look at one of these now. I noticed this first one for me said multiplication, 3rd through 4th grade mathematics, and it's got a total of 16 questions on it. You'll see that in like a little thumbnail on that image. So if I click it, it allows me to preview that quiz's questions right over here on the right-hand side. So I can look at this and say, hey, do I like any of these questions? Jane has 7 boxes of pencils. Each box has 30 pencils in it. How many total pencils does Jane have? And we've got 3 different answers. If I like this question, all I have to do is click this purple add question button, and it takes that entire question and pops it into my quiz as well. So let me go through and take a look at a couple of other ones. Let's take a look at this quiz. Oh, no, that's a super quiz. Let's take a look at, here we go, this one. The product of any number and 0 equals, ooh, I like that one. I'm going to add that question. And so you're now basically just looking through a couple of other quizzes, trying to find some questions that might be good for you. So this is a great way to be able to mix and match questions. Some of these maybe you compose yourself. Maybe some of these are things that you like over here from somebody else, but you want to modify in a minute. You can do that, and you can use this now as a question bank and then mix that with some questions that you custom create yourself.
So already I would say that that beats Kahoot, because I always spend so much time trying to figure out which one I want to start with, which one I like the most to begin with before I edit it. And now I don't have to worry about that.
So that's why I really like this. Is it feels negligible, the amount of time that it takes me to be like, what's in this quiz? Nope, don't really like that. What's in this? Oh yeah, I like some of that. What's in the? Yep, that's kind of what I was looking for. Give me all 5 of these questions, and then I'll sort out afterwards which are the ones that, you know, I like the most. And so it's very quick and trivial to just pull in the kinds of questions that I like, and doesn't take me a whole bunch of extra time. If you find one that you really do, oh, I like this one, the little picture one. I'm gonna add that. Let's say you find a quiz and you go, I like all of those. You don't have to manually add them one by one. There's also this add all questions button up in the upper right. All right, so let's now, I can't figure out, that filter must be broken today. It's kind of odd. Is it working on your end? Is the grade filtering working? No.
No, everything disappeared as soon as I put a filter in.
Okay, so odd, because I did it the other day and it was working no problem, and today it's not. So there's something weird going on behind the scenes. Anyway, you get the idea of how to use this little portion. So I'm now going to close this, and we're going to jump back over here to my quiz. And so now the next 2 things that you might want to do are to reorganize some of these questions. Maybe you decide, I want this one to be up near the top. I want this one to be up near the bottom. And you might have a couple of questions that you want to edit and make modifications to. Another thing that I love about this is that you can very quickly glance and see what the right answers are going to be. So there's no guarantee in those other quizzes that they are all error-free. So specifically on a math one, I might want to just double check that these answers are correct before I give that out to my students. So you can see very quickly, like, okay, yeah, that one is correct. But from here, you can now reorganize these things. So I'm going to take question 3, And I'm going to click over here on these little arrows that point up and down. That's how I can reorder. So as soon as I click that, it puts me into this reorder mode, and now I can just drag and drop. So move that one up there, move this one over here, that Jane question, move that down to the bottom. This picture question, move that over there. So I'm kind of resequencing. And when I click done, then it's going to update everything and update the names automatically. So it'll say, okay, that's now question 1, that's question 2, so on and so forth. The other thing you can do if you get into this one and you say the product of any number and 0 equal question mark, if you decide you want to change the way that that's phrased, you can always click edit. And now you're editing this specific question in that same window that we were looking at before. And so you can make modifications to this. You can also, let's say there was a question that had 4 options, but you wanted to add another. You can add a 5th question option. And make all sorts of modifications there. And then finally, if you get down to a question that you decide you no longer want to have in here, like 7 times 9, since that's actually one that is the first one that I let off with. 7 times 9, if you decide you don't want that anymore, you just click the delete trash can icon, and it deletes that question. Okay, so this is an 8-question quiz right now. I can add more if I want to. I can modify and make all sorts of additional changes to it. Let me pause here and find out. Anybody have any questions that have come up so far? Okay, so what I want to point out now is over here on the right-hand side, there's this little area called Quiz Quality Score, which I like a lot. And the goal is to always max out these scores quite a bit. Pick a relevant quiz name, check, I already did that. Add at least 4 questions, check, I already did that. Add a quiz image and add grades. I haven't done those things yet. And this is one way that Quizizz make sure that everything in their bank is high quality and useful. So we're going to do that right now. Up here at the top, you'll notice there's a place to add, to upload a quiz image. So if I click this little icon, it will allow me to drag and drop a picture from my computer. So there's going to be a multiplication quiz. So maybe I go find a picture representing multiplication, or I take like a little screenshot out of my textbook or something like that. I can put it here. I can also just use, do an image search using Google Safe Search up here. So I can type in multiplication, search it. It'll look up a whole bunch of stuff. And once I find one that's good, I don't actually love any of those. Let's pretend I loved this one, just so that we don't spend a whole bunch of time on image searching today. And then down below that, it asked me to pick a language. This one is in English, so that's the default is what I'm going to leave it at. Select grades. I now need to decide what grade is this going to be. Now, if I'm a 3rd grade teacher, pretty easy to just say 3rd through 3rd. If I'm building this instead for a range of ages, you can do something like 3rd through 4th, and now it would be a grade review for those 2 grade levels. So this is one thing Quizizz has really stressed, is please give us accurate grade levels for this particular quiz. That makes our index that much better. And then you can decide who gets to see this. Do you want this to be public and visible to everyone, or do you want this to be a private quiz that doesn't go into their quiz bank? I always pick public on this just because I'm trying to give back to the test bank, but you can modify that if it's something that you want to keep a little bit more private. And then you click save. And you'll notice now my quiz quality score, it's maxed out, 10 out of 10. Yay! Okay, so that is creating a quiz, or at least, doing a hybrid version, pulling in some questions from somewhere else. And once you're done with that whole thing, you click the save icon in the upper. Oh, wait, I already clicked save. Oh, there we go. Finally clicked save. It saved it. And it brought me back over here to kind of this dashboard screen. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to assign this to your class. So the first thing you'll notice up here is that you get 2 different purple buttons. One is a live quiz, and this would be perfect in class. All my students are in the seats. They all have their Chromebooks out. We want to do this right now as a review game or an exit out, a ticket out the door or something like that. The other option is assign homework, and this is what Carrie was talking about before, where the teacher made it and then the student just kind of goes on it whenever they need to, and it's more self-paced. If you were doing some asynchronous, like this is going to be for homework, or this is going to be in a center when you get to that center later today, you could assign it as homework. It's not going to be something that you're facilitating live with everybody. So let me show you what that looks like first. If I assign it as homework, I click this little button. I decide what the deadline is going to be for this. So this thing is going to be due by Friday. I can pick a specific time if I want, or no deadline. Oh, wait, I need super for that. Okay, so I'll pick a custom deadline. I can make it like way in the future too. And then I can just click this assign button. And it now gives me that same thing as before. So in the center, I can say, here's the link and here's your code to be able to do this on your own. Or we can assign this via Google Classroom. So let me go back right now and show you the Google Classroom portion of it. I just wanted you to see first that it exists. My preference is to assign it via Google Classroom. So if you scroll down over here, you will see assigned to a class, optional, not assigned to any classes. So if I click select over here, the first thing you have to do is link it to your Google Classroom, pull in your classes. If you're secondary, you'll pull in all of your class periods. If you're an elementary teacher, it'll be just your one main class. And once you do that once, it will remember your class. Like, for instance, I've pulled in Mr. Rothy's class, and so now it remembered that class. Hey, do you want to use this class again? And I'll just say, yeah, pick that specific class. Also notice they've added this option, pick specific students. So if I were going to do this as some differentiation and I wanted this version to just go to 5 of my students, I could be able to select that right now. Default grading. How do you want this thing to be graded? Default, out of 20, out of 50, ungraded, enter it manually. Let's make this thing out of 20. Oh, no, can't do that. That's the pro stuff. So we'll go default for now. Oops, there we go. Now, here's the stuff that's going to get posted in Google Classroom. What do you want the assignment title to be? And then down below that, you'll notice it's optional, but you have schedule and description. So this is the, like, what do you want the description to be in Google Classroom? Do you want this to be posted now or at some date in the future? All right, so let me pause and see, do we have any questions that have come up about assigning this to Google Classroom? Pretty straightforward, yeah? All right, I'm going to click cancel and get out of that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back on the left-hand side. I'm going to go back to my library. And you'll notice I created a multiplication quiz. You'll have one for yourself. I'm going to click back on multiplication quiz because I want to point out that once you assign it as homework, that doesn't destroy your quiz. You created it once, and so it's here in your inventory for you to use whenever. You could use this thing and assign it over and over and over again. It'll be here for you to use next year. It'll be here for you to use next week as a review or a second chance on all of this. And so you can always come back to your library, find that quiz that you want, and either assign it as homework, or let's take a look now at the Start a Live quiz version. So if I click this Start a Live quiz drop down, I get 2 options now. One is classic, and that's the one that we did together today. The other is instructor pace. And this is the part where you basically say, like, here's the first question. Nobody goes on to the second one until we all move on to the second one at the same time. You'll notice for the one that you did earlier, the sample, you were all kind of working through it at different paces. Whenever you got the first one answered, you just moved on to the second one. So you can pick, do you want to control the pace or just let students go live at their own pace?
Caleb, can I interrupt and ask a quick question? Because I'm stuck. I tried to assign this to my Google Classroom, and it failed. So I tried twice, and I'm getting like reconnect Google Classroom account.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity to do that again, and
Let's see if we can take a look at that together. Would you mind sharing your screen with all of us?
Not at all.
Okay, I'm going to stop presenting.
Okay, and I am looking for sharing screen because I use Zoom, so
sure.
I'm not.
It's in the bottom bar. There's a button that's got a rectangle with an up arrow. That's the Present Now button.
Okay. So my entire screen. Or probably I should have just done a window, huh?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me do that again and do the window. All right, so are you seeing my choose an account?
No, what we see right now are two tabs, the Mail tab and the Google Meet tab. So I think you might need to share a different window that's got the
Okay.
quizzes in it.
Stop presenting. Let's do a tab and my sign in, this one. Okay. I'm going to share my whole screen, okay?
Sure.
Because I am. Yes. All right.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect my account. And I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I trust it. Oh, and now it looks like it's going to be.
And now it's working.
Yeah, of course. Oh, no. And then that popped up again.
All right. Let's go click reconnect Google Classroom account.
Okay.
And let's walk through this one more time.
Is there something I maybe should have selected before I selected that I trust it?
I don't think so.
Okay. And it looked good last time.
So let's do this. Let's open up a new tab and go to your Google Classroom and see if it actually posted.
Okay. Doesn't look like it.
No, none of those are it. Okay, let's head back.
It could just be like the timing right now, maybe.
Yeah, so let's do this. In your toolbar up or your address bar up at the top, just type in quizizz.com again.
Okay.
Instead of the accounts.google.com, all that stuff.
All right. I wondered if it had something to do with the fact that we're in Meet right now and maybe it'll work after.
No, that shouldn't be affecting it. Okay, it looks like we're in your account. Yep. All right, so grab the hamburger button in the upper left.
Okay.
And let's go down to My Library. And is that multiples of 7?
Yep.
Okay. So we want to assign that as homework. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll pretend that it's going to be due at 4:30.
Okay. So before you click assign, we need to go down to the add to a class part. Oh, sorry. Yeah, where it says select. That's it.
Okay. Next. Is there anything, did I need to do something to grading?
Nope, that should be fine.
Okay. And hit assign. Let's see what happens.
This quiz has been assigned to Google Classroom. So now.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That is weird. Maybe at the
I'll
end of
try
this,
it
you and I stay on and see if we can troubleshoot that together.
Or I could try it after where maybe it has something to do with the fact that.
It could be. Yeah, and you and I can just follow up afterwards and see if we can get that resolved.
Sure. Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
All right, so stop sharing.
Okay, so we talked about how to assign these to students, and I think we did the assign as homework. So now I just want to show you start a live quiz. You've got that classic and the instructor pace, so you just decide which of those two modes you want to go with. Let's say we're going to go with the classic mode, which is the one that we did all today. You can have your students do it together as a team, which I kind of like. Sometimes you can put them together in groups and then have the team solve it. You can do it in classic, which is what we all did together. Or you can also take away like the memes and some of the, the frilly stuff and have it be more of a serious test. And this one would require students to log in. And again, they would just use their login with Google account. We've already vetted the security on this and all that stuff. So you can pick between those 3 player modes. So I'm going to go classic for this. And then the same thing, I can select one of my classes and assign it to that. And you'll notice down here, Terry, when I did it, it says this quiz will be assigned to one class, Mr. Orthy's class, grading assigned, maximum score 100. And then it says, note, don't forget to click the assign button up there at the top. So before I'm done, I want to make sure I click that purple assign button. I think you were doing that already. So I just want to note down here at the bottom, everybody, that there are some additional settings that are available to you. So there's some general settings that you can toggle on or off. There's adaptive learning questions if you decide to do the upgrade thing. And then there's also some activity settings like power-ups. Do you want them to be able to get bonus points and other fun activities? So it's worth playing around with. It's a little bit beyond the scope of our 1-hour workshop, but it's down there at the bottom. So you can go through all of those settings and click assign at the bottom, or you can just click the assign up at the top. Either thing is fine. So I'll click assign, and then hopefully mine will work. And boom, there we go. So we talked about doing it as homework. We talked about it as a live quiz. You can also do the instructor paced. I don't think we have to walk through that one by one. With our last few minutes together, I want to show you two additional things. And one is this explore area over on the left-hand side. So if you click explore over there, you will notice this is where Quizizz has their inventory of things that they've already built for you. So there's a search box up at the top, and you could just type in things like multiplication into the search box if you want to. Or they also have some other ideas of ways that you might use this that maybe you didn't even think about. I mean, everybody thinks about this as a math quiz or a ELA quiz or something like that. But they also have these icebreaker and bell ringer style activities up here at the top with a see more button. Featured mathematics activities, ELA, social studies, world languages, science, computer science and skills, career and technical education. So sometimes if you just need like, hey, I got 15 minutes extra, what am I going to do? You could go down here and grab one of these other quizzes that has already been created. Like let's say we go creative arts. Let's just find a creative arts thing to do with our students. We could go to see more here, and it would give us all sorts of creative arts activities over here. And if you decide that there's one of these things that you think is kind of interesting based on age group and all that other kind of stuff, this is where you can use one of the pre-built activities just as is. So if you didn't want to do any customization, you just wanted to use a multiplication quiz that was already created or a science quiz. Let's do like water cycle. It's my go-to example. I just typed in water cycle and boom, here are all the water cycle quizzes that are out there. So I could now say, all right, for this one, I'm going to filter by grades. I just want elementary ones. I just want things that have been designated as for science. And so it allows me to kind of drill down. I go, okay, let's see what this water cycle 11 question quiz is. It's designed for 2nd through 4th grade. And so I could click it. And again, this is not mine, but it's one that I could assign as homework for tonight, or I could start a live quiz right now. I'm up and running in like 10 seconds. And so, yeah, I'd want to go through and vet these and make sure that I like all of the questions on it. But if you want to get going in a hurry, you can use the explore option. Okay, any questions that have come up on all of that? Here's the last component I want to show you before we wrap it up for today. I mentioned, I kind of teased this at the beginning, but if you go over to create, one of their new options is this lesson option here. And I just want to show you this. I would not recommend to start out your Quizizz adventure here, but it might be kind of a cool thing for you down the road if you decide that you like the Quizizz interface. So we're going to call this thing Quizizz Intro, and professional development will be my category. So when I do that, you'll notice you get an interface that looks a lot like Google Slides. Here's, a slide over here with the title and the subtitle, and then here's a list of all my slides over here on the side. So what I can do is I can add new slides. I can put in a blank slide, a text slide, a title slide, text and media. I could use this to build a slide deck, right? And maybe I do, the first 2 slides, and then the third thing that I want in here is going to be a multiple choice question, or a fill in the blank question, or a poll question. I can incorporate that into the middle of my slide deck here. So if you are used to teaching with a slide deck, but you feel like it's a little dry and you wish the students could, participate in polls along the way or have little multiple choice questions, you can integrate that into this. Now, for me, this would almost be a non-starter because I don't want to make my slide decks in Quizizz, or, you know, like maybe I've already made these things before. Is there a way I can take stuff that I've made and just add the questions into it? The answer is yes. And let me show you what that looks like really quick. Over here in my library, I made one of these things earlier. It's called Quizizz. And you'll notice it's listed as a lesson. So what I did, let's see if we can edit this thing. What I did, just because I wanted to show you it was possible, I pulled in my slide deck that I made in Google Slides here. There's a button down here where it says add new slide. This is what we were looking at a second ago. And there's this button here that says import slides. And it will allow you to import PDFs of your slide deck. I got really excited when I saw this Google Slides button because I was like, oh man, I could just pull it straight in. But it says, nope, save your Google Slides as PDFs first, then import into PDF. So that's fine. I went into Google Slides, I downloaded them as a PDF. And then I inserted them right here. So what it did is it grabbed all of my slides, pulled them in, slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, 4, et cetera, et cetera. And then I inserted a poll question right here between slides 2 and 3. How excited are you to learn about this today? And so this now is something where I could have it up on the screen and students could have it up on their computer. And I could be on this first slide, you know, talking and lecturing and giving this information. And boom, when we get to slide 3, I say, everybody on your laptop right now, tap your answer to this poll question. And so now I've got quizzes embedded into my instruction, and it allows us to kind of play a game as we're going along through the whole presentation. So if that looks interesting to you, I just want you to know that it's there, and it's a great add-on component that makes this platform, I think, pretty darn cool. All right, I am going to jump back over to our slide deck from earlier, and I'm going to wrap this up with you. So I want to open up the floor right now for any questions that anybody has. And while I have the floor open, we've got about 5 minutes left. We have a survey that we always do at the end of these workshops. So I would appreciate if you would fill out this survey. This one is for us, for our instructional tech team. And it's the data that we use and we collect just to figure out, like, are these effective? Are they helping teachers? Or teachers pleased with what they're learning in these? So if you wouldn't mind filling that out for me before you leave, I would greatly appreciate that. And then I'm available to answer any additional questions that you have for me. If you don't have any questions after you're done filling out that workshop survey, you're officially done today. And you can now play around in Quizizz and make a quiz and get started with this whole thing.
Caleb, I have a question.
Yes.
I was so I assigned my quiz that I made through Google Classroom, and then I tried to just access it through one of my kids because for some reason it's only assigned it to 4 of my kids. I teach a special ed class because it said it was waiting for them to accept the invitation. So do they have to register and create an account when I assign it through Google Classroom?
I think the first time they do it in Google Classroom, when they click the link, it will take them to the quiz, and it will have them log in with their Google account when they're going to take it. That way it can like track, oh yeah, Johnny did do the quizzes. We know it because it was Johnny's account that accessed the quiz, if that makes sense.
Okay. They only have to do that once though, right?
Yeah.
So ideally I could log into all my kids and get them registered, and then from then on, anytime I like post it, they can just click and go into it.
Yeah, or it might do that thing where it pops up that button and says, you know, select your Google account. They just tap on their name and they're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, kind of like Boom Cards does that. Okay. Perfect. That was my only question. Thank you so much. This was really
my pleasure.
This is going to be great.
Great. I'm excited to have all of you try it. And after you try it, shoot me some feedback. Let me know how it went with your students. And certainly if you all have additional follow-up questions afterwards, you're like, give me a hand on this. I'm not sure how this part works. I'm always available for you to answer any of those questions.
So I have a quick question. When you imported an existing Google Slides lesson as a PDF, did you have to do each slide individually, or did BAM, it just, okay.
BAM,
good.
the whole thing came
Okay.
right in. It was great.
Okay, good.
It actually, if I remember correctly, it pulled them all up and it had a check mark next to all my slides. And I could basically go through and uncheck the ones that I didn't want it to, you know, to keep. But I just left them all checked and said, yep, pull the whole thing in, and it did. The one, so I liked it. The one thing that I didn't love is that the quality of the slides didn't look as clear as when I present with Google Slides. It was like a little fuzzy. And I'm kind of a stickler about those little details. So that little thing would bug me a bit, but not the end of the world.
When you do a snip of something and then try to put it in and it's
Yes.
never quite just right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not quite what it was.
All right. Well, I'm going to mess around with that and find out if that's all it was, because that's pretty weird. But I'll shoot you an email if for some reason I can't get it to connect to my Google Classroom, because that was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, sure thing. If we need to troubleshoot after the fact, I'd certainly be happy to help with that.
All right. Thank you, Caleb. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm gonna go.
Okay. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care, everybody.